The Vale Podcast, driven by Pioneer Ford Robinvale. It's worth the drive.
Good morning, Dr Webster. How are you?
I'm very good. Fabulous to be with you, Jade.
Oh, thanks for coming to Robinvale at such an early hour.
Look, it's a pleasure to be down here. It actually always is a pleasure being down in Robinvale.
It's a great part of the world, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
I suppose we need to talk about the rather large elephant in the room and the military, apparently, if you believe the news this morning, that the military is being deployed to the Murray River.
Yes, apparently so. So our borders are officially closed tonight at 11:59 p.m. Between Victoria and New South Wales. So that is a matter of strict control, hard lockdown, I believe we're calling it.
So we've heard and we've seen in the news, and I know you're probably as much in the dark as the rest of us at this point because there's been no further news. The permit site is still not up on the New South Wales government website. But if you believe the news this morning, there will be drones to be used to stop people using tracks, which means that our walking track over the bridge, which hundreds of people use every single day, will be off limits.
Yeah, look, it sounds to me, listening to the New South Wales Police Commissioner last night, that they are very determined that no one will be able to enter New South Wales without a permit, and permits are not available as yet.
And the other thing that we'd be led to believe with regard to permits, and this was a question we had from Mark Zapier this morning on Facebook when we put the call out, his dad has got a doctor's appointment in Mildura tomorrow. Now, if you live in Robinvale, you cross to New South Wales and take that way to Mildura. There are alternatives, but it adds almost another 45 minutes to your trip. So if his dad has a doctor's appointment in Mildura tomorrow and the site's not up and they're saying it could take up to 72 hours to be issued with a permit, and yet the military's being deployed today.
So, hello, Hatter.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, this is a matter, obviously, for our state governments to manage, and they have responded to what is clearly a health emergency in Melbourne in the sense that community spread has not occurred like it is now in Australia till this point in time. And look, we could discuss why that is at length. But obviously there is a lot of information that we don't have, that we have not been privy to. And in fact, I was listening to Michael O'Brien last night on Sky News, who said that Premier Andrews has not even seen fit to communicate with him, which I think is quite appalling. And given that the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has kept Albanese in the picture with frequent updates, I think it's quite appalling.
That is not only appalling, that's alarming if Premier Andrews is not communicating with major stakeholders here.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, the opposition leader, just as a point of respect, I think, should be communicated with what's taking place, why it's taking place. But no.
The other thing that I think, and I know that this is going to be all policed by New South Wales, the other thing is that comments have been made over the last couple of days that, well, the funding stops at the end of the freeways, it stops at Bendigo, so why don't we just lock down Victoria as Premier Andrews sees it, and regional Victoria, we haven't had a case for months and months and months. It is life almost back to normal for us, and now it's almost like being in a war-torn country with the military being deployed and the drones being over the Murray River. We would never in a million years expect this to happen on our doorstep. Yeah. But it is.
No, it's true. It is. I think there are a couple of points. People in the regions are absolutely conscious of the fact that when it comes to funding, we have the golden halo. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to lockdown, suddenly we are incorporated as being Victorian.
Yeah.
So the issue with it is that our regions have been fairly safe. We've had very, very few cases, and certainly not in the last couple of months. In my opinion, what Premier Andrews should have done is lock down Melbourne prior to the holidays because, for example, Mildura has been flooded with Melbourneites.
So has the Have you seen the caravan park in Robin Vale this morning?
I noted as we drove past, I thought, I wonder how many are from Melbourne. And so, look, from my perspective, I'm just waiting for the numbers now.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly frustrating because our regions have been safe. And who knows what will happen now. Albury-Wodonga have stated that there are 2 cases there overnight.
Really?
Yeah, so they had none. And, of course, they're even more enmeshed between Albury and Wodonga over the river. They share a lot of services. So there is quite a complexity now that has arisen. Women who have to cross the river to have their baby.
Yeah. And if you go into labour at the moment in Robin Vale and you need to get to Mildura in less than an hour, you've got to cross that river because if you go the Hattaway, you may not have that time. But the other thing that Jessie Lazara asked this morning on Facebook was, what happens if we're not getting out of the car to cross that, to get to Mildura, and we're just driving through New South Wales? And again, I know you're not going to know the answer to this because no one knows the answer to this. But what happens then?
Well, you have to have a permit. That's what they've made very, very clear. New South Wales Services hopefully will have an ability for people to go online to get their permits. Look, I would hope by tomorrow. Goodness.
You would hope by today that permit site will be live.
That would be the preferred option.
Would it not have been better planning by New South Wales to have this site ready to deploy the moment they called the lockdown? Right, here is the site. We'll launch that. It's ready to go because we've clearly been considering this for at least a couple of weeks. Have someone working on it, get it ready to deploy. We're announcing a lockdown in 48 hours. Here's the site. Apply for your permit so that you've got it ready to go before lockdown.
Look, I think that New South Wales, my reading of the events as they've unfolded is that Berejiklian has actually been quite frustrated by the closed borders. That's not a pathway that she has actually wanted to go down, and that this whole situation right now, I fail to see how Premier Andrews can shift the blame anywhere but on himself in the sense of how he actually chose to manage the hotel quarantines, that he refused ADF support, that he had his private companies with apparently union connections. Who would know? I certainly don't know. There are a lot of questions around that whole circumstance, which has now led to community spread. Clearly, he's going to face a lot of angst with locking down 9 towers of public housing, people who are already highly vulnerable.
Did you see the footage of some of those poor people in there yesterday? And I spoke with Ali Cupper, our local state member, yesterday too, and we had the same discussion about the towers that from even a mother's point of view, not even a political point of view, but from a mother's point of view, if I was locked inside my house trying to feed my child and I was running low on formula and I was calling out for formula for nappies and they were saying, you're going to have to wait a couple of days. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
That's inhumane.
Well, it's untenable. And obviously the responsibility lies squarely on Premier Andrews' shoulders to resolve this situation.
You would have thought there would have been something in place, again, long before that with high-density living like that.
Well, they've been meeting daily and, according to him, meeting through the night to make decisions about how they're going to manage X, Y, and Z potential occurrences. So, look, I don't know. I'm not in his shoes. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes for a quid, but I think we've got a long way to go to clear ourselves here, and there are a lot of very frustrated people, both in the regions and in the cities.
Yeah. Economically, if we go into, even with a state lockdown, how do you think that's going to affect our region as it is now? I mean, people are still moving produce. There are still nuts that have got to go into South Australia. It hasn't been an issue up until now, but still carrots going to Brisbane. Lots of produce being moved around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe on the New South Wales services site that freight will be permitted through, emergency services will be permitted through, but my understanding is they will still require permits. I heard this morning of a truckie who works for one of the big companies who applied for a permit to go to South Australia, and he was rejected.
What?
And so now his trucking company have gone into bat for him. So there are clearly issues that need to be resolved around the agreed goal of having freight continue because it's essential, obviously, and emergency services and others. I mean, I've got 2 staff members who live in New South Wales who, once again, will not be able to come into work as of tonight, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then depending on whether or not they get the permit.
Yeah,
that's another issue.
It's exactly right. Is work considered essential? I mean, according to the Prime Minister, all work is essential.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess we wait and see.
Well, it's just one of those, this is the time we live in, I guess. It's just we have to wait and see because you don't know. Ali doesn't know. No one really knows as yet. So
no, well, I mean, you might know that I've been doing a lot of lobbying for health and for Mildura, but also there are other places such as NIL who rely on South Australian medical workforce to be able to come and deliver services. And we have 9 specialists who would normally come to Mildura to deliver services and have been given exemptions to travel to Broken Hill where they've had 0 cases of COVID. And the South Australian Health Minister will not grant exemptions for them to come to Mildura, though we have not had cases for 2 months either. I've been on Sky News talking about this. I have written letters to Minister Mikakos, of course, no response. And Minister Greg Hunt has been engaged in this as well, in this lobbying and advocacy with me, and we have still not moved. Now, can you imagine how unlikely we are to get any traction at all if we now have cases, thanks to the recent splurge of tourists up into our region?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there are people who are suffering. There are people who are in pain, and it's been going on now for 2 or 3 months. And the delay in these procedures and surgeries are now going to be back-ended for another up to 2 years, I'm told, for dental work. So people who have wisdom teeth that need to be pulled, it could be a delay of 2 years.
Which is horrendous.
It's a horrible story.
It is a horrible story. There seems to be horrible stories coming out of this all over the place. However, and I suppose we're in a similar situation here with RDHS. You know, people that live in Euston use RDHS primary care. They do outreach services to Derton and into Wentworth and other parts of New South Wales. But that's why you're in Robinvale as well today to meet with Mara, our CEO.
Yes, I'm meeting with Mara, Sarah and Bruce, and apparently we're having morning tea, so that will be lovely. And have a tour of the RDHS. So that will be great to understand what's going on in terms of health services here and obviously how COVID has impacted what they are able to, the services they're able to provide for the community. And then I'm going on and meeting with some producers, local producers, and hearing what's going on from their point of view. So, good day.
Yeah. Well, Johnny was supposed to be here today. But bless his nephew, James has had a little incident whilst out spraying, I think. So he couldn't make it, and he was a bit devastated because he did want to have a word to you. But the fact that you're going out to see some producers today is we really appreciate you coming to Robinvale and having a chat, because I think being in this part of the world and all of the attention through the mainstream media thus far has been on Albury-Wodonga, and I get that. They're major cities on the Murray River. They have shops and healthcare on both sides of the river. I get that. But we have lifestyles and we use the river daily.
That's right. So, absolutely. And look, it's the same over obviously in Mildura, Burronga, Golgol, you know, there and Wentworth. There are people who travel daily for work, for health, for education. You know, how long is this all going to go on for? We don't know. Could it have been mitigated a little better earlier? retrospective, wisdom is always helpful.
Yeah. Retrospective wisdom is helpful, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But again, it comes back to, well, we don't feel like we've been part of Victoria for a long, long time. There could have been roadblocks at the end of, the freeways, at the end of the Calder Freeway, Ballarat, Donnybrook. Lock those down. You can't lock down the Hume Highway, obviously, but in most other places you can.
Well, you can certainly require permits.
Correct.
Yeah, look, it's as I said, I think there are quite a few. I'm certainly seeing on my own Facebook page people who are really quite angry about this and what it's meaning to us in the regions, and the risk that we've now all been put through and having to face in this last week or two due to holidays, and no problem at all, apparently, till now.
Exactly. Do you think Premier Andrews has lost touch with the common man?
Well, he certainly, I don't know that he was ever in touch with regional Victoria, but it is encouraging, is it not, that we are now incorporated as Victorians?
Well, yes, let's hope we get some of that money flowing up to regional Victoria and up to the Murray River. That'd be really nice. Yeah.
That would be good too.
Yeah. I think that's all we needed to catch up with you today. Thank you for being here and helping clear the air, because I know there is a bit of panic around from people that have doctor's appointments, that have work, that,
Look, I think the thing is people need to hook into the New South Wales Services website and just keep an eye on when those permits become available. Probably the one thing that I should talk about briefly is that July 5th this week, the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Agreement came into force.
Did it?
And the fabulous part of that is that 10,000 tonne of oranges and 5,000 tonne of lemons will be going to Indonesia, along with frozen beef, frozen sheep, and a myriad of other products. So that will make a difference, I hope, in this next 12 months to our Red Globe producers and our Seedless Crimson, have I got the name right? Yep. Producers and others who want to get product into Indonesia. So, if people haven't seen my Facebook page, there is a short video there with Minister Birmingham and Minister Littleproud and myself talking about this very thing. But it is, I hope, good news for us going forward.
Yes, it's just a matter of getting those same arrangements in place, if not more so. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
For the coming season.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right. Well, of course, those applications need to be made again, but it should be easier.
Yeah.
That's the fact.
Unless they move the goalposts. But
well, that's unfortunately.
That's life, isn't it? That's life in politics, Anne, and we thank you for doing the job that you're doing and going into bat for our growers. And I know that they really appreciate it, which is why, again, Donnie wanted to be here this morning. But, he is a grower and there's always incidents that come up, and that's life on a farm.
That's right. Yep. It is life on a farm.
Exactly. That's why farmers are resilient, beautiful people.
Yep.
Dr. Webster, thank you for being here today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Jade, always.
Have a great day.
Thank you.